Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and here's my top 5 most powerful unique duos in Last Epoch. Coming in at number 5, we have the Shard of the Shattered Lance with the Fragments of the Shattered Lance, and it gives you a massive amount of health regen, and the set bonus gives you even more health regen per point of strength that you have. And if you've recently seen my video with the paladin that's dual wielding them along with the relic, we have 11 to 1200 health regen depending on how many sigils you have active. It is a tanky boy. So if you have these uniques, I highly recommend putting them on and giving yourself a try. It works not only on the paladin but the spellblade, the forge guard, and also basically any class that can dual wield swords. Coming in at number 4, we have the Plague Staff and the Viper Tail Poison combo. Now, while these two together are not quite as powerful as they used to be godlike tier items that would have ranked number 1 because you could throw them on almost any build and get great poison damage. But after several poison nerfs and the fact that Plague Staff does less poison chance overall and had a reduction, it is still viable, but it has dropped down a few tiers on our list. However, you can still throw the Plague Staff and the Viper Tail on any build that does a lot of hits per second and get a great poison build out of it. Most notably, it is still a really good combo for the Acolyte class, and it teams up with Wandering Spirits really well. Coming in at number 3, we have the dual wielding Eye of Rains. These give you a ton of added fire damage, up to 400% ignite chance on melee hits, and for every stack of ire that you have, you can have increased crit multi and increased fire damage over time, which with a 100% crit build can lead to you having hundreds of percentage increase in crit multi and make you hit really hard. These dual swords can be placed on almost any character that can dual wield. You can put it on the Spellblade and do extremely well with Shatter Strike. You can place it on builds like the Sentinel and do ignite builds on any of the 3 masteries. It does extremely well with Flurry on the Rogue because it can do so many hits so quickly that you can get so many stacks of the ire that your crit multi just gets absolutely ridiculous, which the Rogue already has incredibly high amounts of. The key point to take away here, if you have a couple of Eye of Rains just laying around, definitely dual wield them and try them on all of the different classes. There are so many viable builds with it. Coming in the number 2 spot, we have the dual undisputed weapons. Now these can only be placed on the Primalist as they're the only class that can wear an axe in the offhand when dual wielding, but dual wielding undisputeds can give you up to 204 melee physical flat damage, which is the highest amount in the game that you can get with weapons, and it can give you up to 54% increased attack speed. So not only are you hitting hard, but then you have a very impressive amount of attack speed. You can also leech up to 28% of your overkill damage as health, and you can get up to 400% increased physical damage if you have hits on enemies that are inflicted with bleed. It is just a very impressive synergy of weapons that you can place on, because there are no downsides to putting the undisputed on yourself. Like a lot of uniques that are very powerful that have at least one downside of fix, the undisputed weapons are just powerhouses, and placing these on your werebear, playing it as Beastmaster, Shaman, Druid, it doesn't matter. You can make a viable build. For the first time using these, we've made Earthquake hit for almost 1,000,000 damage. You have skills like Swipe that suddenly are critting for 4, 5k damage when you're not even in Werebear, which just makes it an absolutely ridiculous build. If you have a couple of Undisputeds laying around, which they are rare, I definitely recommend making yourself a Primalist character and giving melee a chance. And coming in the number 1 spot, we have Enzanglius and the Last Steps of the Living, and it should come as no surprise. This combo of uniques can be played on every class with every mastery, and we've proven it. We have a build of every mastery in the game using this combination to do a low life build that usually outperforms any other build that you can do with that class. And when I say usually, I'd say 90% of other builds cannot even compete with the survivability that you get for just throwing 2 uniques on a character and not having to craft a single thing. Now, while these 2 items obviously perform better on characters and classes, masteries, builds that stack int and ward, it can be placed on even builds that don't. In fact, we've ran low life paladin, we've ran low life forge guard, things that don't have any ward generation at all other than maybe on block, and they still do exceptionally well because the only thing that you have to stack for it to do well and give you enough ward generation for high survivability is stack a lot of life. These 2 items also synergize with a lot of things that help builds do more damage. For instance, low life Werebear or any melee build on the Primalist can have 100% more damage and take 30% less damage. On the Rogue, you can get 100% crit very easily and take less damage if you have a low life build, and you can have shift giving you a massive amount of mana back just for having low life. So low life builds there are definitely synergetic. And then you have classes like the Spellblade and Mage that obviously stack a lot of int and a lot of ward, and with these 2 items you can get between 5 and 10,000 ward at all times, especially when you have it with Flame Ward. And then of course you have the Acolyte class, which is absolutely ridiculous with the amount of int that it can get. So your ward generation, you could have as little as just 2,500 life and have a standard of 5k ward at all times with just these 2 items. If you have not paired these up and played a couple of low life builds, I definitely recommend it, especially for the Acolyte class. It's definitely one of my favorite, but on Primalist, it can definitely boost your melee game up as well. Alright, that's going to wrap up the top 5 most powerful unique duos that I believe are in Last Epoch. We do have some honorable mentions, but before we get into them, feel free to like the video, comment below a powerful unique combo that you think should have been on the list, and as always, feel free to sub. There will be plenty more Last Epoch content coming. Alright, for our honorable mentions, the first up, we have the Fang and Archer's Legacy. The reason this combo is very potent is because as a Beastmaster, if you are running as many minions as possible, this is a combo that most likely you're never going to run without. Archer's Legacy can give you +1 maximum companion, and the Fang or the Claw will give you the ability to summon all of your wolves to the maximum companion limit without you having to go inside of the wolf tree and spec into it. For our second honorable mention, we have Calamity and Soulfire, which can give you up to 360% ignite chance on hit with all fire skills, which is an absolute beast of a combo if you're playing an ignite build for any fire skill build in the game. And last but not least, we have Ignivar's Head with the Gambler's Fallacy, and if you have not played this Disintegrate build using these 2 items, well, it feels broken and you should definitely give it a try. However, it is the only viable way of doing it is with Disintegrate, and it is definitely, while it feels OP, it has its own little aspect of problems, and that's why it didn't make the list. Alright guys, as always, have a great day and thanks for watching.